Becca's a great personality, and she'll, if something different happens, she'll be like, sure, yeah, we can do that, yeah. Just go
If
with
you
it.
want them to see you, you have to hear as the teacher. But if you don't care, you just want the PowerPoint and your voices, then just stay there.
Okay, cool.
Oh, but someone will need to click through the slides if you want me to again.
We got it, we can do it.
I'll be right
Thanks, Becca. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. You guys doing okay? Good.
Deluge.
A lot of information. Well, me and Latisha are co-leading this, and I'll let her introduce herself before I start talking, and maybe we could just go around the table and share a little bit about where you're at and how long you've been doing it, and maybe just a little bit of like how many students you have or what type of students, just maybe something interesting about your program. So I'll start. My name's Kyle. We are down in Modesto, California at One Church, and we're a church of about 400. We have a couple church plants, so all together we call ourselves One Church in many locations. So yeah, One Church is actually 4 churches, whatever. And so 700 altogether, but our main campus is where all our interns have come from. And so 400 on the main campus, and we had our first year, I was a youth pastor, inherited an internship of 2 kids that were kind of doing stuff. And so our first year of launching CPP, we had 4 full-time interns and about 10 students altogether. And then the second year, we had 8 full-time interns and 13 students altogether. So it was cool to see our program grow like that. And I recently resigned from coordinating, and so now I'm just teaching a lot of adjunct with Northwest University and seeing where the Lord's going to lead us. So I'm just kind of here as a consultant of someone who did it for 2 years, but not currently. So I'll probably talk like the program I lead, but just so you know, Caleb and Michelle Crenshaw are here, and they're the ones doing a great job with it now. So that's me, and
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
So you had 8 interns, 13 students, so not all the students were part of the internship program? You let them divide that out?
That's correct, yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we structured and made a distinction between those two, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm Latisha. I'm at People's Church in Salem, Oregon, and we have about nearly 3,000 on a Sunday, a few morning services, that kind of thing. And there have been internships, but nothing with this accreditation. And so I actually came in as an intern with the youth ministry, and then Pastor had just been looking for something that would really bring education that was quality for an affordable price for to equip people to follow their call to ministry, and so that's where we got this program. And so we've been pioneering it for the last 3 years. And the first year we had a group of about 6 interns, and it's just kind of varied based on the semester. But this last one we had 2. We had 1 intern, and anyway, he just graduated, so that's exciting. So we've just had a lot of adult learners. Not everybody wants to do the internship because their schedules don't allow for that, and so just looking through how we can best serve them for what their needs are and where they're headed. So I also hope to do a few other things, but thankful to be part of this, and it's an honor. This is my dad. He's here with me, Stan.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. And
He's the second set of ears.
I'm processing this, and so in Kyle's previous session, I said I'm a pre-CPP person. So to see what I can capture, I come from a small town. Well, there's 8,000 people in all of Oregon, and my wife and I are actively involved in the church as best we can be. And to see, and it's interesting. This is a level above where we're at, but it's like an opportunity would be there if it can fit for someone. So I'm seeing if I can encapsulate it and maybe not present it formally, but see if there's any interest. I am about Christian education. I think it's very important. I was in church since I was this size, and come to terms with my faith and believe that that's where it starts when you're young. And so I'm excited and honored to be here and learn from all you people. So thanks for letting me be here. Really, really glad to be here with my daughter and have some daughter all the time coming up.
That's awesome.
She drove all the way up here, so I have to drive home. So it works that way.
That's a nice switch, though. Somebody I don't get. I'm Dwayne Gibson. I actually live in Kennedy, and where I'm with the Horizon Church in Tualatin, Oregon, suburb of Portland. And we've just finished our first year with the CPP program. We got a little bit of a false start though in the fall last year. We had 2 students sign up and got to orientation day, and both of them said, we don't really have the money to pay for the classes, and we didn't know it was that expensive, which I had a hard time understanding why, because it was in print and, you know, but anyway, millennials. So we went ahead and did just an internship track with them without the educational piece, and then in the spring we added another student, and she actually started with the classes. When I signed up for this, I signed up for an idea of what it was without a reality of what it was. So I feel like I spent the whole year flying by the seat of my pants and trying to figure this out. I'm hoping to do better next year and have a better handle on what it means to help these students and to really help the program to grow. So that's kind of where I'm at. My husband Jerry actually directs the program. So he's more hands-on with the students on a regular basis. So,
I'm Kim, and Josiah and I are from Life Center, and you can speak for yourself. But I'm passing the torch of coordinator to Josiah. So kind of here just tag teaming with him, making sure we kind of like work together throughout the day-to-day. I've been at Life Center for 5 years, and the whole time it was right at the beginning of the relaunch of the internship program. So we've had a new version of our internship program for 5 years. And then we jumped right on at the beginning of the relaunch of the CPP. I think this is the end of the 3rd year. Yeah. And we've had anywhere from 5 to 10 interns, but every year it fluctuates. Even mid-year it'll fluctuate. So some, quit school, some quit the program altogether. It fluctuates, but we've really, really enjoyed having Northwest as a part of the practical side of the internship program. It really adds a lot of integrity and credibility to what we're already doing. So,
is that Tacoma last time?
yes.
My name is Josiah. I'm from Life Center, Tacoma with Kim. I've been a youth pastor for 3 years at our downtown campus and transitioning into overseeing our internship. So just here to learn.
I'm guessing what you're saying. I feel like I came in late, so late to the party. I'm Lynn Clayton. I'm from California in San Jose. I've been in Bethel Church. I've been there now over 7 years. Been in youth ministry for 17, the youth pastor, and doing internships for 15. So we have not, it's our first year for Northwest, but we have a very, just an amazing leadership program right now. And we're wanting to have Northwest as a component of that and as an option and to expand that. So we're super excited about this fall, but just trying to learn and everything that we can. So, and become better at what we do. And it's just an exciting new season. We have a new senior pastor this year, so which is a big change for our church. And so it's just an exciting direction. So that's where I'm coming from. Is that what, did I do what I was supposed to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Jared McKinney, and I'm at Bethany Christian Assembly in Everett. I've been at the church for 5 years now. I think this is, we've been doing a partnership with Northwest for 4 years. So first year was whatever they used to call it
Ministry
before.
Head Start.
Yeah, Ministry Head Start, and then we've been doing CPP since it's been available. So I'm also the youth pastor at our church, so I kind of oversee youth, junior high, high school, college, and then also our internship program. So yeah, just trying to, I think like everyone else said, learn, get better. I think we're doing a mediocre job right now, and I'm excited to do a good job in the future.
And I'm Becca.
And everybody knows Becca.
I work for the CPP.
Yeah, awesome.
That's great. Well, there are 6 habits that I think Kelvin came up with from Eastridge Church, and so we wanted to just pose them to you and then talk about them and share what we've done and then hear what you're doing. So the first one is communicate well and communicate often. So for me, I've recognized the importance of thorough and efficient communication. I don't always do it well. Becca does it well every time, but
You communicate great.
they are a great team, and so you'll find if you're new that they're really responsive and really great because that really helps you. And also to remind the students to, they'll get back to you, it's okay. So how often do you guys communicate with and you, and what's your preferred mode of communication? What works well for you?
Email's great.
Yeah. So we have, okay, awesome. Well, he's new, she's new.
Right.
Yeah, email. We email, and I email Chris and Jared. Perfect. Yeah, there's some people who prefer.
I call sometimes,
Yeah. phone calls.
just depending how fast, like not that you guys don't respond fast with email, but I'm slow with email sometimes, so sometimes we'll call.
Yeah.
I learned that it's different in each season too. Some seasons you're communicating a whole lot more than
Yeah.
others. We'll talk more about seasons, but you kind of get into the ebb and flow of knowing.
Yeah, usually leading up to, like when your semester's gonna start, you feel like every 5 minutes you're sending an email trying to figure out, like, the student's missing paperwork, they didn't tell me they're missing paperwork, what are we doing, where are they at, where are we stuck? And then you get into mid-semester and there's like no communication, and then you get to the end of the semester and you get 7,000 emails about how all your students are failing classes, and you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So it's just, yeah, there's definitely ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and I think Northwest is also great on if I missed an email or didn't get back to them, or I forgot to submit the practicum names or whatever, there's like a second and third chance a lot of times. And Becca's like, hey, you forgot
They go,
this.
the deadline is the 10th, and then you get an email on the 11th. We'll still take it if you send us something. Oh, thank God.
And you have the fake deadline because they do.
They know. They're working with youth pastors and.
Becca
Yeah.
is the face of grace.
Yeah.
Can I just get one checklist? No, this is my second checklist. This is my third checklist. We're just waiting on these 5. We're doing good.
So, go ahead.
This is really quick, a little side note. How do you feel about newsletters? Because I pretty much stopped doing them. I don't know if anyone's missing them. Yeah. The problem with the newsletters is that they only come once a month, and usually what I need to communicate is written. And so it's better to shoot, I think, in my opinion, to shoot a quick email, post something on Facebook, than to wait a month and have a list of.
Right.
Okay. No one's missing it.
And it's helpful to have reminders, so like, here's what you're thinking about, just to make sure that what I'm thinking about is the same thing you're wanting us to be thinking about.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing's helpful for me.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably do it in the regular emails in place of the newsletters, but it was nice to get the March. This is
Yeah.
recruitment, whatever,
Okay.
newsletter. So those were
Kind of like the season.
the seasonal, yeah,
Like, this is what should be your focus. Okay.
yeah. Those are good, and newsletters are prettier, so they're all graphical,
Yeah.
have the borders and
A
stuff.
whole lot more work.
For me, I'd say I communicated with Northwest. It felt like as needed, and sometimes it'd be a lot, and other times it would just kind of, when all my students are passing, it'd be, I want to hear from them from a while. So just as needed. But if we talk about in the principle of communicating well and often, Latisha talked a little bit about communicating with your interns and maybe the other ministries along with within your church that your interns work with. How do you make sure you're communicating well in those regards?
With the people who I work with, like the.
Your interns and the supervisors or the other ministries they work with, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can bring it up in staff meeting, of course, when we have
Mhm.
a meeting there. I think also to just set up the initial conversation to be like, here's what we're expecting from you as if you're having an intern come through, like having clear communication with them, like, and what are you gonna help them learn? And maybe have a document that says, this is what your department is, it's about worship, so I want them to learn these things, these core values. And you have to have, I know we've done these, you sit down and fill out this form, your goals, what's that called?
The
Personal-
interview or the entrance?
Yeah, so like if an intern's gonna, work with the worship ministry, then you sit down with that leader and you say, okay, here's what they wanna learn, because it takes initiation from their part
Right.
too, that they have to put it in. And then also the leader, then I can be there to just kind of facilitate that conversation. I think it's important to communicate with your students,
one thing if you can't expect what you don't express, so it's important to stay on top of that communication, even setting those goals at the beginning, and then reminding them like, hey, you said you needed help with time management, how's that going? What does that look like? I ask a ton of questions, and it's a lot of accountability of what they've already said they need, and I ask questions to lead them to the answers they need to have, which you guys do that too, I'm sure, but we don't really have, specifically for my group, we don't have a time when we're on campus weekly. I see them at church, and so in passing, like, they either avoid me because they're not doing their work or whatever it is. I'm like, hey, like, you can't ignore me right here. I've seen you at church, and so I'll give them a hard time. But every we could say hump week, the third or fourth week of the semester or the session, we have lunch after our third service, and some free food is good. And then we just like talk about, okay, how's it going? What kind of
This
tools
is with your interns?
This is with the students.
The students, okay.
Yeah, so if you're an adult learner or an intern or whatever, we're all getting together because we are the program. And like just a family chat, and it's really laid back, but it's also really helpful. There's been great conversation that comes out of that. And it's also to inspire them and say, hey, how can I be praying for you to finish this session strong? Even though you're hating this class, like, you know, and they discover who else is in the class with them, and so that they can say, oh man, I didn't understand this professor, or so whatever's working, whatever needs to work for you guys, that we found that to be helpful for helping.
Yeah. That's good. I would say I kind of went into it expecting like and knowing the type of communication I would need to have with my interns. And because I was serving alongside them as youth pastor or just seeing them every day in the church, that communication happened a lot. Where I think I dropped the ball in communication and not doing things like you can't expect what you don't express, because I assumed all the ministry supervisors were like our children's pastor or worship pastor. I just assumed by the nature of their position that they were excellent delegators and developers of people, and in some instances that tended not to be true, and I found out my interns were cleaning the ball pit of the children's ministry every day, you know, or every single week, and I'm like, that there needs to be more than cleaning the ball pit. And so for me, the communication I had to have was, the communication I had to have was more with my ministry supervisors and helping them have getting a lot more buy-in, because our senior pastor said, like, leadership development is your job, like, you will help raise up interns. Okay, so they were on board in that regard, but once we started having a week before the semester of interns began, going out, even just buying them lunch and saying, okay, how did it go last semester? How is the schedule working? Do you like them in these hours? And I found out, like, they hated having interns on Mondays, and they wanted it on Tuesdays, because Mondays they were in too many meetings. And so we just switched it. That next semester, okay, Monday's a study hall day, and Tuesdays is whatever day. So that helped a lot more when I made checking in with my ministry supervisors, giving them the entrance interview, that initial meeting, giving them a form, because, you know, everyone's busy. So if I could resource the ministry supervisors more, that helped all the way around. So.
Great. Okay, number 2, surround yourself with support. This is like a playing to your strengths and recruiting people in your non-strength areas. Using the resources well that are available to you from NU or your local church or other leaders in the community. Know when to ask for help and connect with other coordinators. Use the best ideas like we're doing here. I think this is definitely a check off for this. But for me, I'm the only one who's overseeing the program. So sometimes it's challenging, but I found a couple of staff people who have a heart for it. So I just say, hey, can you just chat? Can you give me ideas? Because they're really helpful and inspiring. I've also thought, like, okay, who can I have work on some things? So I'm starting to delegate social media stuff. So the other people, like the interns, they can just take care of that, and yeah, it's done anyways. So that's helpful. So what are some things that you guys are finding are kind of weak points or areas that need more strengthening that you can recruit other people to help with?
I actually have a question related to this. So one of the things we've kicked around the idea of doing is with students who are struggling, pairing them with an academic mentor. So we have a strong group of like former pastors and teachers and leaders, well-educated senior adults that are a part of our church. And so we've thought about, like, if a student's not getting good grades, they've got to meet with this person like once a week or whatever until their grades get up. Has anyone done something like that? Because I tend to be, I was actually just talking to Chris, who I work alongside. We've created a high expectation as far as grades go with students, like, and kind of a no complainers mentality as far as, you know, like busyness is not an excuse not to get good grades, like for me. And so I've created this healthy sense of tension that there's a clear expectation to get good grades. What I've found is in creating that all the students just lie to me until the end of the semester because they're too scared of me now. Not because I'm mean, but just because they know that, like, whatever excuse they come up with it's not good enough for me. Like, you know, that's not gonna work. And so I really discovered that this semester as I've, you know, tried to create a higher expectation. And so I wonder if pairing them with people who would maybe be more patient than I would as far as grades go, or like, you know, walk them through assignments and has anyone done anything like that? Has it been helpful?
Well, I think it's metamorphosized because we've had the opportunity to grow, you know, every year. Two things when you say that I think about. Number one, we have this awesome opportunity. We have a school on our same campus as our church, preschool through 12th grade. And they have learning specialists there. So we tapped into the resource of one of the learning specialists. So at study halls at the beginning of, our goal is like at the beginning of a brand new year, the first 3 to 6 weeks, she comes in on the Monday study hall and does like some specific like time management, prioritizing how to use, because she just finished her master's degree, and she really helps them even on Eagle, like when they have like an assignment specific, she goes, the professor is telling you exactly what they want from your paper and they're just not seeing it.
Yeah.
And so she's able, because it's not me telling them, or it's not Brand, Josiah telling them, they kind of will receive it better from an outside person.
Yeah.
That says, hey, look, no, it says it right here, right? A 3-page paper.
See, that's where I don't have the patience to walk it through. Read your syllabus, figure it out, like.
The downside for that is that it's not a downside because it's a worthy investment. We work it into the overall price, but we do pay her $50 an hour, but it's worth it. So she's great because she's willing to do the group thing as a scheduled thing that we agree upon, but she also is willing to meet with them one-on-one, email, whatever throughout the week. She is fully available to them by email, in-person, phone, to follow up with. And because we only have 5 to 10 and 3 of them might take it really serious, it's not overloading for her. But it also helps us because we can say, hey, you have a resource in addition to the smart thinking, the library, all of the online tutor stuff that we have for Northwest. And then the other piece of that is kind of like what you were mentioning, is whoever their intern leader is, we're working on letting them know that their intern is not their buddy worker, but this is a discipleship relationship. And so we give grade reports weekly if they're not doing well under a C to their intern leader. And if they're not paying their bill, we give them the information as well, so that they can help carry some of the load of accountability, because that should be their mentor. Whoever their direct report is for the ministry, the internship part, that's who we are asking. Because if that doesn't allow you to grow, if you pigeonhole yourself and you're the only person to hold them accountable, but you're building a bigger thing. So
That's smart.
it's kind of a two thing.
I really like that, pairing the academic mentor with the study hall time. That's really good. That's super helpful.
We just do it for 1 hour. It's a 3-hour study hall.
Yep.
And then the first hour is that tutoring time. And then if they want to sit with her longer, they can.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're done.
That's super helpful.
And the smart thinking stuff and all the stuff online, it's a little intimidating to sit down and do it, but just to have a face or a person you can call or email or text, that just helps, hey, can you just talk me through it or whatever.
Yeah,
That's
because
great.
we sat through the great
today.
academic system, and I'm just sitting here thinking it is very rare that any of our students are gonna take that kind of initiative.
Right, yeah.
And we give them all the resources at the
Right.
beginning, it's like a buffet, you
Uh-huh.
know? And it's just really up to them, and you can hammer in their brain that really, like, to take that extra step to do the online tutor thing is super rare.
Yeah.
It's true.
Here's a quick idea. I heard of Renton, they have like a retired school teacher, and she is like looking for a place to serve in the church. And I think even myself, I went to school for teaching and have my teaching license, but haven't really been able to use that in that way. But I think every new church I go to, I look for opportunities to work and I serve, and it might be like a unconventional way of
Right.
serving, but you could put it in your bulletin at church. We're
Yeah.
looking for teachers to serve, even volunteer even. But if you need to pay one, that works too. I think you might pull some people from a congregation.
That's a great idea.
Maybe they're not in kids ministry already. I know for me in particular, I wasn't really able to pour out in kids ministry because there was already a lot of systems in place and they didn't really need me in that role. So, you know, I would love to tutor.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, number 3, habit number 3, change with the seasons, which we already briefly spoke about. This is kind of a picture of the cycle of CPP life. And those of you who are experienced, you'll know that
Maybe turn the lights off,
Sure.
I need to see it.
I'm excited about turning them off and then I couldn't find it. I like turned around and there was none there.
oh man. And I think they talked about this in the last session I was in too. Where each one really focusing on different things. And so I think I wanted to just ask you guys, how do you set yourself up to focus on the priorities that you need to focus on in each season? Because I think that's important. That's something I'm asking myself to make sure that, okay, we're in May, so student advising and registration, that's happening, we're getting people, oh yeah, I need to do on this. So right now it's just getting people through, getting them finalized, ready to go, helping them remember to order their books, etc. What are some goals that you can set for each quarter?
That's good. I think for me, my mind doesn't normally work like this with line charts and organization and stuff. So I kind of follow along in the emails I get from Becca at Northwest, and it ends up being like that cycle. And so I don't think like, oh, now it's May through August, I got to do this. But the one thing I am thinking of a lot, because every single person who's come into our internship after I've made 50 really nice packets with all the embossed Northwest stamps and logos, and had individual letters from different pastors inviting them to programs to promote and have them sign up. We did a big promotion push, and not a single one of those returned any actual sign up. Every single person who joined in was from a one-on-one meeting with me and them, or with me and them and their parent. And so I'm that's my schedule of what I'm thinking of. So as far as goals, it's fall and early spring, trying to meet with parents and seniors and talk to them, and then also talking with the other pastoral leadership of who do you know who might benefit from a program like this. So that's kind of my thing that I'm really thinking about, kind of November through February. I get a lot of them, but then the seniors I don't actually really get signed up till May or June oftentimes. So I kind of revamp it when they decide, oh, maybe I don't want to move to Florida for college. Okay, let's sit here to it. So that's how my brain works.
I went to the Christian schools in our community, and one of them I learned that they won't they didn't let me come in because they already had something the first semester about colleges, and so I could have had a slot at that time, but I learned that now. So next year I'll go and I'll get a slot in to promote our program. But others let me have, I gotta have a 2-minute window in a seniors classroom and at a Christian school, and we did a big promotion for this experience. PCSM is the name of our program, and we said, what does the day in the life of an intern look like? And so we had a good handful, and then we were able to have our senior pastor come share his heart, and then pair people with the ministry leaders and give them kind of a tour of the building, and so that was really fun. But we also have adult learners, so I'm going to do another one where it's in the evening. We did it on President's Day, so it was in the beginning of the day, it was the first half of the day because they weren't in school anyway.
Yeah.
And it was what do they do, sleep in and do nothing? So
Yes.
we had fun. Think about college.
That's really cool, and I felt and I've thought of it, I've never done it, but I feel like the Christian high school demographic probably has a good portion of kids who want to go into ministry.
Yeah.
And right now we have 2 or 3 in Modesto, and we haven't done anything like career days, but so I imagine that might be a really cool recruitment idea.
I would say for me, you'll get the flow of things, because I think it's just gonna feel like crazy town. You know, when you get going and you get the flow, and the deadlines are really helpful, and Becca and the team are just really good at like communicating far enough out what the deadlines are. So I think the part that used to be really hard is navigating those weeks preceding the deadline, because I don't think I knew how long it was gonna take to actually get responses from the students, from the potential students. So just giving yourself enough grace and time to get the interview, the preliminary one-on-ones done, and getting their transcripts in, and their FAFSAs, and all this stuff. Those things just take a long time. It takes you 2 minutes to email Becca all this stuff, but it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to get everything from the interns themselves. So and then you're recruiting at the same time of me, you know, so things can get hairy, can be big events in church you can be a part of, like we do every year in August, so it's a little like, oh my gosh. But you'll get a flow, I guess. Knowing deadlines and just thinking ahead helped me, I think.
After the first year, you'll kind of figure out what the busy seasons are and
Right.
expect a lot of emails from us.
Yes.
I think FAFSA is the thing that really sneaks up on me a lot too. And we have a lady in our church who works at the junior college in town, so she always reminds me when the FAFSA thing's coming, and she'll come in and do a FAFSA workshop for all our current interns and our seniors, just because that's another intimidating thing. And so we just all sit down together, and she's like, okay, type in this, and it's not that hard, but like, it's just intimidating to get started. And
That's awesome.
so we do that with some snacks, and it's really successful, so.
That's smart.
Any final thoughts or questions on changing with the seasons? Habit number 4 is keep a consistent weekly schedule. So what does a typical week look like? What are your rotating priorities? Speaking academically, but also internship.
I want to say at the last session, they spoke a lot about setting the expectation to your students so that they know when you're available, because they get a lot of texts and phone calls when it's not appropriate, you know, like 11 p.m. or Sunday afternoon. I'm freaking out, I need you to edit my paper. And so if you have a weekly schedule, obviously you want your students to set that too, so they're prioritizing. But if they know, like Chris and I from San Francisco said, on Fridays from 1 to 3, I'm always available, so you can come by and get your paper edited, 3 days in advance of the deadline. But I won't be answering texts on, late night or Sunday afternoon. So I know that's just academic related, but even setting time on the schedule in advance of when you're going to meet with your students and connect with them over coffee and stuff like that. That's really good. You do that. I feel like you have a very strong weekly schedule. Program
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, we do. I say we try and schedule about, and I mentioned it yesterday for those who were there, trying to schedule about 90% of it well in advance so they know what everything else in their life can rotate around these set things. And so for us, it's just, and I'm really interested to hear how many hours your interns are serving weekly. For us, it's study hall is Monday, Thursday, 9 to noon, and then ministry days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, 9 to 5, and then nights, depending on what ministry you're in, and then Sundays, of course. So those are kind of our main things, which rarely rotate. It might change if you're in a particular ministry, but not really. So how about you guys?
So we've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are kind of the days where students have stuff, but we don't start till the afternoon.
Okay.
So like we can start at 2 on Tuesdays, and then we're only looking for a couple hours, and then they've got potentially Tuesday night classes. Wednesdays are our longest day. We start at 1. We do about 3 hours, which is like our Wednesdays are our spiritual growth days. So we do about an hour like devotions together, stuff like that. And they go to their internship practicum. Then they have a little break, and then they're setting up for our Wednesday night service, youth service, serving at that service. Thursday, there's a 3-hour chunk, and then potentially a Thursday night class. And then we have Saturday and Sunday services, so a lot of them are serving. So we try to leave Mondays all the way open, Fridays all the way open,
Yep.
and then most of the mornings during the week. So a lot of students work coffee shops or whatever else, and so we're leaving the mornings open. We found that to be fairly successful. I was just talking with Chris, who works alongside me running this, and I actually think we've had, I'm realizing I've had a little bit of the opposite problem. So what I would have hoped for as an intern is that I would have had a lot of free time to work, to do my studies, and then to only be at the church when I need to be at the church. I'm learning that the opposite is true. I think I need to schedule like a study hall day. I actually need to schedule their time better because they're not good at scheduling their time, which is why they ended up in a CPP program and not like at Harvard or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they're with me because they're bad at this, and so I need to help them be good at it.
Who's your demographic?
Well, you know. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's tougher when Northwest University is only a half-hour drive away. So
Oh,
all the
okay,
sharp
yeah.
students end up on campus, and not that our kids aren't sharp, but I'm digging myself a hole here. But we need to get a little more structure is actually what I think I'm doing. That was the point of that.
Because then you can always excuse the responsible ones, say you four don't need to come,
Exactly.
but require the ones that you know need that structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that for straight A's. If you have straight A's, study hall is optional.
Nice.
So your study hall,
I don't give them options.
You have to be here.
What did you ask?
so your study halls are staffed? So when the students are there, you have a staff person that's
I don't have a
sometimes who's
study hall
on
right
site?
Yeah, we don't have a study hall right now, but if I did,
But you
it would be probably paired with, I mean, just ideas coming from this, I'll probably pair it with those academic mentors I'm talking about, so that there would be a volunteer there helping students with homework, making sure they're not goofing around, because they tried to initiate their own, a group of them, like study hall session, and the feedback from that, because they were like, hey, Thursday nights, you know, we're gonna be here for 3 hours, because we've got a designated room for them with computers and whatever else, and great lounge space, so they were enjoying studying in there, and come to find out, all of them had to stop going to that, because they would get nothing done for 3 hours, because they were just hanging out together,
Where it's like
playing the
bowling.
Wii, or like, you know, watching
That's
Netflix or
what
something, so,
That's true.
yeah.
Yes. We do 2 study halls a week that we require Monday, Thursday. They kind of serve as placeholders in case God graces us with enough students to have a live class where we can have an
Oh,
instructor
cool.
come, so that we already just have that worked into their weekly schedule.
Smart.
And as far as our internship part goes, we've been doing Tuesday through Friday and then Sunday wherever. But Josiah can probably speak more to what the new branding and, you know, system, because we're kind of the opposite. I feel like it's, I'm here too much, I'm not here enough. And so they're too much, quote unquote, and their chief complaint is that they can't find a job. And so we're like, fine, so I think they're gonna switch to Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, with this next year, like with the job part, like needing to like pay for their own schooling and stuff, it's like we want to give them as much opportunity to work. And so
Right.
we're going to do like the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday required like to be on campus or like server or whatever their schedule looks like. And so they have all Monday, all Friday, and majority of Saturday, unless their campus has a Saturday night service. And so we have 3 days for them to work, and so they're not like, oh, peace out, I have to leave to go to work, because that's what we ran into this year. It's like,
That's
okay,
frustrating.
they're there for half the day, and then, oh, I have to leave early because my boss called me, and then they're leaving in the middle. So, yeah, we're trying to really schedule as much time for them to work, and so there's no excuses like, hey, when you're here and locked in, and then when you're not, you have time to go work.
Cool.
Habit number 5, we're gonna finish up here. Lead your students by example. So the question is, what are some ways you live out what you're aiming to help them learn? And it's definitely important, we all know that it's important to not put expectations on our students that we wouldn't do ourselves. So, for example, we gotta serve with our students and show them by our life what we're wanting them to, you know, by modeling what they should be doing. And so I'm the middle school pastor at my church as well, and so I have a discipleship group that I meet with, and yeah, so that's one way that I'm leading by example. And then we do a lot of serving for banquets or things like that, so of course I'm right there among them doing it with them, cleaning up after service, tearing down, setting up, all that kind of thing. And then spiritual growth experiences. When we had our first group of interns, we read a book, Celebration of Discipline by Richard Foster, and we went through each discipline and we practiced it, and I'm really, my heart is really big into discipleship, so that was a big part of our program too. It's like we want you to not only know, but we want you to live it and have the heart of Christ, and not just learning about him, but knowing him. So anyway, all that's important. What about you guys?
I don't want to sound really funny, but I think we noticed a shift. You might know this, teacher, I've noticed this. About 2 years ago, like the overall attitude of the interns is just so different now. And I know they just, or the phrase is coined as millennials, but really like, I don't know, I think there's just this sense of entitlement.
Oh, gosh.
There's a sense of lack of work ethic and kind of like disrespect and hope, you know? And for us specifically, I don't know if it's because of our demographic or what, but I think we have had to like recalibrate and figure out how do we address the behavior at the root, you know, and lead by example. I mean, just, and it affects everything, like showing up on time and just your body language and,
Right.
you know, how hard you're actually putting effort into something to make it look like you even care or you want to be here, you know, and so, I don't know, I know that's probably like a really big generalization, but I definitely noticed a huge shift about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, are you saying towards the worst or towards the better?
Towards the worst, yeah, yeah.
I've struggled a little bit with that too, and I haven't known if it's again like a generational thing. Although we're starting to push it. I mean, there's still millennials, but pretty soon we're going to be starting to push into like Gen Z, which we don't know much about. They're going to start coming into our program pretty soon. But one of the things that I was just talking with another one of our leaders about, both of us are pastors' kids, raised in the church, raised to love the local church, and actually that's one of our core goals. Is that when students graduate our program, that they would love the local church. No matter what they go to do in their life, that they would always serve, that they'd always be leaders. We want to build that into them. But part of the struggle that I'm realizing is as a leader, I'm not teaching them the most basic serving and leadership principles because they've been pounded into my head all my life, and I feel like I'm repeating things I've heard all my life, and I don't recognize that they've never heard them before. And so, this is like a new realization for me. So as I look to the fall, as I'm structuring my, we do a, it's kind of like a leadership, life leadership class on Thursdays. As I look to those, I'm going to stop being so creative, and I'm going to more like do the KISS program, which is keep it simple, stupid. And I'm just going to teach them the most basic, like, this is why we love the church. This is why we serve. This is what basic servanthood looks like. And I don't know what those teachings are going to look like because I'm going to have to dig back to like my elementary school days when my parents taught them to me. But I think that's what I'm sensing more is they're not getting it from their parents, they're not getting it from their school, they've been allowed to slough off, they've been passed by teachers who just didn't want to deal with them, in the high school, and now they're here and they're just giving me the same attitude that they've had all their life, and I'm expecting them to be here, and I'm wanting to teach them here when really they're down here, and so I gotta just get way more basic with them, I think is what I'm sensing. Well, I'll tell you in a year or two if it's working, but that's kind of what I'm sensing right now.
I feel like there's a lot more like walking, like personal coaching for these students to be done. And I mean, I think you and I are similar age, but yeah, we would never like treat authority or work, the way that students do now. But yeah, even in student workers or that kind of age, but it's hard to find somebody who's like on top of it, ready. But I think that you might be that personal coach for them, for a semester or two, and then see them, flourish on them. But yeah, there's a lot more hand-holding, but maybe in a more positive way to be done.
Our interns began to be invited to our staff leadership, which was led by our senior pastor. Great hour teaching, 40-minute teaching, 20-minute discussion or something like that. And I saw my interns show up. Like, they all looked beautiful Sunday morning, put together, and I saw them show up to this just like so scruffy and sweatshirts and like slouching. I'm like, do you realize what you're missing right here? And so I kind of got angry at them one day, and I used the example of we have this garden club at our church, the garden club in town rents out, and the pastors have to do it. It's the worst thing, right? And so I gotta run tech for it every so often, and they come in here and they teach about all of these like succulents, and it's just like so far above my head, but it's like top of the line teaching, and I'm sitting there bored out of my mind because it's so far above me. And so I told them this example. I said, if you're bored right here in this meeting, like it's because it's so far above you that you don't even comprehend what you're missing. This is top of the line leadership, and you're coming in here just like contempt, to have contempt for it. You're missing out on so much growth. And so I don't know if I'm onto something here, but I feel like with this attitude that they walk into of entitlement or not care or whatever, I just feel like they don't realize what they're missing. And so I noticed a little bit of a shift after that, because I told them, like, you have to come put together, you have to come like sitting up to meetings like this. And so I don't just solve everything, but I resonate with what you're saying. I would encourage you to tell them shape up, I guess. Like, you realize what you're missing here, and you hear me.
Yep.
I think something really cool, sorry to interject, this might be something you're doing later, but Kyle and his wife take out their interns for like dinner, for coffee, and I think that's such a cool opportunity for like, you know, the girls to be learning from. His wife doesn't act like that, obviously, but just that personal example.
Yeah,
I think that really helps.
good.
I think if this gives anybody hope, I love millennials. I absolutely adore them, and I'm so far removed from them. They could be my children, and they remind me quite frequently that they can be. But I love them because they really do believe they can change the world. And so, but we started seeing that about 7 or 8 years ago, that sense of entitlement, at least in the Bay Area. We did, and but we structured our internship and our school leadership's a little bit unique because we've gone through different morphs. Like we used to partner with Bethany University. I worked with North Central when they did they were the first to get out there. Mm-hmm. So it's different educationally, but we stuck. When I started internships, me and my husband, we went, okay, what are the things that we wish somebody would have taught us in ministry that no one did, that we had to learn on our own at 21 as youth pastors? And so we outlined all of these things, and we do classes every Monday morning at 2. There was a practical one and there was a spiritual one. It's all leadership based. And so we do one, and it's always depending on the class. It rotates. Like this year, I need to do how to manage your emotions for 8 weeks because this is my youngest class I have ever had, ever. But they have to show competency in that. So we partner this with them, and they're getting this stuff. And they are like, their eyes are open. As a leader, I feel like my primary job is to help people see. They just don't see. They really don't see. They don't see what they don't see around them. And so that one was an interesting, I haven't done that one in years, but they were so like, you know how they are. Yeah. Like they're crying every other week. My office is inundated. And so we're doing emotions. My husband's doing effective communication. We do all of these things and we rotate them. But once a month, they also have a spiritual leadership that rotates through our staff. But this is something that is a commitment for me and my husband that makes it so hard. Because we do campus pastoring. I'm over all the entire leadership for our entire staff, our pastoral staff, as well as my school leadership. So I mean, this is really a commitment on our part, and the youth ministries, college, all that. So we see it together though. We sit one-on-one with them at least every other week and have a one-on-one personal mentor moment for an hour. Every single one of the students we have. That is priceless.
Yeah.
That's why they listen to those teachings. It's not because they don't get it, it's because they get our heart.
Yeah.
And as soon as they know you love them, they'll listen to anything you say. And so they spend time with us at least every other week, and it is time consuming, it's exhausting, and the things you're talking them through, you're like, oh my God, you can't believe. You're like in your mind, seriously, this is what we're talking about today. But it's relative, right? It's big for them. And so, but that, I watch, like, it is the funnest, these are the funnest teams to work with. They are, and there's big, and there's drama, there's always drama. But you're just patient with it, but they produce so much, and they are such hard workers, and they are fiercely loyal, and they'll like die for you, but it's just because you're willing to die for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they see that. I mean, if that gives you any hope, I mean, it is the funnest team, man. They come up with whacked ideas. I'm like, how did you even think of that? But they're so cool, because they're out there. They're, and I'm like, okay, I just stick around. It keeps me young. They keep me young.
That's something that they brought up in the last one on how to take it to the next level is make some practical. How do you change your oil? How do you keep a budget? And like, what does this look like? Financial costs, basic stuff. How to code, definitely expand.
So we're out of time. The last habit is match your internship with the vision of your organization. So you know the heartbeat of your church, and so the question is, how do you weave that heart into the program? And what would identify your program from others? And why would someone choose to come to yours? What makes it unique?
Yeah, we want your program to be yours. We don't ever want pressure for yours to have to look like Jared's or for Jared's to have to look like yours, because your church is so specific to your demographic and the goals of your church, so.
Yeah.
And books.
Good.
There's some recommendations.
You want some resources? Thank you guys for coming to this.
Yeah, lots of great books there, and you guys probably have heard of a lot of those and know a handful of others. As far as books to read with the students, one thing I discovered in the last couple of years that I love is assigning a different book to each intern, and then at the end of the session or intern, you have them give a 10-minute lesson on their book. So all of a sudden they're reading it not just to say, okay, check, I have a thing to say in discussion, done. When you read it to teach, it makes you really learn the material. So they're engaged more as they read it, and then everybody gets to learn from all the different books. And so that's been, and they get experience leading a lesson, which is rare in internships to share the pulpit and all that. So that's been a huge win for us to divvy up the books. Cool.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks guys.
Did you say you did the celebration of discipline? I've never heard of that. What is that?
It has a bunch of different spiritual systems like